Hello, my friends. Welcome to the movement with Dan Unitas. Today, I want to talk about the topic of living in a sexless marriage. And as a man, what do you do in that situation if you find yourself in that situation? I think what it is for me is that I think that women really want to feel desired. Women want to really feel like are on an adventure with a man. Women want to feel I think that women really love a good story. Women don't want to feel like they are in a boring situation. I think that one thing that can affect a relationship in terms of the intimacy, um, you know, people will often say women need to feel loved in order to open up for sex, whereas men feel love if they're having sex. So it's kind of this, you know, chicken and egg type thing. And in a relationship, it's very common. For men and women to kind of get the engine stalled. They're not firing on all cylinders, and then all of a sudden the engine is just completely stalled. They're at a dead standstill. So something has to happen to jog to get the engine going again. For me, I'm a big believer that men need to step up and lead within the context of the relationship. I think that men and women play different roles in a relationship. I think it's important to embrace our genders and understand that men and women are inherently different. I think if we are, we have tried in the last decade to kind of prove out that men and women are interchangeable and that we're a lot more alike than we think, and that anything a man can do a woman can do as well. And I just think we're kind of having the wrong conversations. What's important to realize is that men and women should have equal respect within a relationship, but we don't necessarily need to play the exact same roles. And actually playing different roles, with men being more masculine and women being more feminine, can allow for a lot more sexual tension to be within the relationship. I think that women really admire strength within a man. Women really respect strength, and they want to, women often in the bedroom want to feel like a man is able to take charge. They find that very sexy, but it has to be done in the correct energy. It can't just be the man is overpowering her and being aggressive. That's not really the vibe, and the energy exchange has to be right. It has to be a space where the woman and the man can both be vulnerable with each other. There's a lot of trust, and there's a lot of there's very clearly love is present throughout the relationship. Which kind of brings me to my next point, which I think is men need to understand that within the context of a relationship, a woman isn't going to want to feel intimate and reach that level of vulnerability and intimacy with a man if she doesn't feel that the relationship as a whole has a lot of love in it. And a way to do that as a man, there's first of all, I think women instinctually tend to take on a lot more around the house than men. Women feel almost this like compulsion to nurture children, take care of people, take care of things, the nesting instinct, as it were. I'm a firm believer in this. I think that women will often take a lot on inherently. They have a compulsion to do that, whereas I think men, I don't think it's good to talk about women being highly productive and men being lazy. I don't think that's really a productive way to take that conversation. But I do think women are often compelled to pick up the slack. And then if they pick up the slack too much, they feel wildly overburdened. So it's very important as a man to, be engaged actively within all of the duties around the household and to split up the work, with your wife. I've often said, if my wife is on her feet and she's moving around, maybe that's a clue that I should be on my feet and I should be moving around. Men often complain, hey, my wife is really upset if I'm just hanging out and relaxing on the couch. It almost gets under her skin. I do think it's important to allow people to have downtime. But at the same time, I think maybe that might be indicative that, hey, she's running around and doing a lot, and then she's feeling like you're not helping her with the load. And then I would not be surprised in those scenarios if there's not a lot of intimacy going on in the bedroom for a couple like that. So if in my opinion, it's a good rule of thumb. If your wife is up and about and she's doing stuff, hey, maybe get off the couch and get on your feet and start helping her. The more that you can balance the load between the two of you, the more she's going to feel supported and the more she's not going to feel taken advantage of, and that's going to open the door. One thing that's a huge turnoff for women is when she feels that the man is only interested in her for the intimacy, because at that point it feels like a chore for her. It just feels like she, the woman is doing all of this stuff around the house, all of this life planning, and really committing herself for the sake of the family at the expense of her own sanity. And then all of a sudden you're coming with her and like, hey, I'm only being nice to you and I'm only showing you attention in this moment because I want to get something from you. And oh, by the way, another big turnoff is this kind of sense of I have needs, you're not filling them, it's your duty and it's your job, so you need to give me that. I think as you know, that's a common thing that can happen in a relationship as well. I think if you're a man and your girlfriend or your wife tells you, hey, look, I'm just not into sex and I could maybe go my entire life without ever having sex again. I've talked, being in the male, improvement space, I've talked to men like that. And that's very, very chilling, very stunning, because I think most men would never say something like that. That would be very rare to find a man that would say, hey, I never want to have sex again and I'd be okay. But it's not massively rare to run into a man where his partner has said those things. So that's very shocking. If you're in a situation like that, I would tell a man, hey, really look out and think about if this is really what you want in a relationship. Because if a woman's telling you, I don't need sex, it's not a big deal for me, I could go my entire life without having it, then you're likely that's a massive red flag, and you're likely going to be running into a lot of scenarios where you're begging and pleading for it, and she just is kind of giving you table scraps. You're not going to feel masculine, you're not going to feel desired, and it's really going to drain you over time. And that your feelings matter too. And never forget that. Both people in a partnership and a relationship should feel respected. The woman should feel respected. She should not feel like the man is constantly just going to her only when he wants sex from her. And alternatively, as I'm saying, a man should not feel that he's got to constantly be begging and pleading for sex for a woman that doesn't want it. If you find yourself in a situation where the dynamic has become unhealthy, or one person, the man is pleading for sex and the woman is not complying and not wanting to engage in sex with the man, you need to change it up. And again, I'm saying, going back to my earlier point, men need to lead in the relationship in the romantic department. Women take on a lot of work and a lot of initiative within a relationship, but really at the end of the day, I feel strongly that it's incumbent upon men to lead within the relationship and to set the tone, set the vision for where the relationship is going, set the tone for in terms of the values that you want to incorporate, and of course collaboratively coming up with that value set with your wife, and what is the vision for what you're doing as a couple. Another way I think that men really need to lead in this context to kind of spur the excitement back into the bedroom is to be more romantic. Some guys will they'll mess up, they'll have a fight with their wife, and then they'll go out and they'll buy flowers for the wife and say, hey, honey, I'm sorry, here's some flowers, to make her feel better. That is the exact wrong approach. What you need to be doing is giving your wife flowers proactively. You need to be, every single month I go to the store on a set day, and I'll go to the store and buy my wife her favorite flowers. Sometimes I'll mix it up, but I make a dedicated trip to the store just for this. I also buy candy for my kids to make sure that they feel special as well. But I'm going to, it's just a treat, on a regular basis to show and express your love for somebody and to show you that you value them. So I come home, I present the flowers to my wife and say, honey, I love you. You're very special to me. I give her a big hug and a big kiss, and I'm giving her the flowers to show her that I appreciate her. I appreciate everything that she does around the house. And, I have love for her, and it shows. Caring for a woman in that way is very desirable, and the woman will feel like you're not ignoring the fact that she does everything. Another thing to really be cognizant of is being appreciative and expressing gratitude. My wife cooks the meals in the house. Whenever she cooks a meal, I always take a few bites and I tell her, this is amazing. This tastes delicious. I love this. Thank you so much for cooking this meal for us. I think women, have that nurturing instinct more than men. Again, I don't think that men and women, can't do different roles. But for me, in my relationship, my wife cooks the meal, and she loves to be able to provide love and express love through nurturing and cooking a meal that everybody gets to eat, and we all gather around a table. So it's very validating for her. And for me, I want to make sure that I express gratitude. She's just spent an hour in the kitchen preparing a meal for us. She needs to make sure that you need to make sure as a man that you are taking the time to properly show gratitude and thank your wife for the things that she is doing. Just because people fall into a role and you might do a task and she might do a task, that doesn't mean that, it's equal. You don't have to express appreciation. That's really stupid. You need to be expressing, in an ideal situation, both people should be expressing gratitude for the things that are being done. If a guy goes out there and mows the lawn, or a guy goes out there and builds a shed in the backyard, it's important to share the love and share it. Never withhold praise from somebody. The other thing too, from leading from a man's perspective, is, take the woman out. It is very hard in a marriage. At a certain point, the marriage can become stagnant. If you have kids, especially young kids, it takes a lot to take care of, constantly be changing diapers, taking the kids out and, for in the stroller, things like that. It's kind of a grind for several years. You kind of put your heads down and you go full on with the parenting stuff, and it's hard to take a breath. But the marriage, the whole while, is kind of taking a hit. You're quiet, even though you're working together for a beautiful thing of creating a family. The marriage is taking a hit, and slowly you are distancing yourself. Big time for divorces are, right after, when kids arrive on the scene and things get really real in a relationship. And then also 22 years, after the kids are, kids are raised and then the kids go off to college. So, it's important throughout the lifetime of the marriage to keep the spice alive, to keep the romance alive. And again, I'm stressing men should kind of take the reins on that. Men should be planning date nights for their wife. A lot of times, like I said, women get in the mindset of picking up the slack. And a lot of times women have a difficult time saying, hey, look, I need to take a break. They basically, at times can run themselves ragged to the point of breaking down and needing a good cry to kind of let the emotions kind of run their course and go through. So if women are having a difficult time stopping and taking breaks and being proactive about doing that, hey, guess what? They would really appreciate it when a man comes in and says, look, honey, we've been stressed. A lot of stress has been put on you. I've got 2 tickets for a concert this weekend, and by the way, I got a babysitter all lined up. It's a big surprise. Women love to be surprised with positive things where you are taking the work and the initiative to show that, to basically pump the brakes and say, hey, you need a much deserved break. Women love that because that's in the sphere of loving them and showing them, I appreciate everything you're doing, but honey, hey, we're running ourselves ragged and you need a break, and I'm going to take you out for a nice dinner, and I want to spend time with you, and I want to reconnect, and I want to have, So if you're looking for more intimacy that ultimately in the bedroom, put in more work. The other thing I would say, just on the romance front, is whisk her away somewhere. If you're able to offload the kids to a grandparent's house for a weekend, just go 2 towns over, go to a big city. You don't have to necessarily fly somewhere. You can go on a mini road trip, an hour and a half, 2 hours away, get a hotel room for 2 nights, and then, have a great meal, look up a restaurant that she will like. Women love to be whisked away and love to be treated like a queen and love to be treated like they are special and that you really value and appreciate them. In the context of the bedroom, it's important to put the woman's needs first. It's very important that you are pleasing the woman and blowing her hair back. Women really appreciate a man that has great bedroom game. Women appreciate, because if the roles are reversed, do you want a woman that's in a intimacy context that doesn't really want to be there, or is kind of going through the motions to please you, but it doesn't seem like they're very enthusiastic? It's not a turn on for them. No. An ideal situation for a man being in the bedroom situation with a woman is absolutely on fire with excitement, and she can't wait to tear into you. The idea of pleasuring you is exciting, and gets her going. So that's kind of the energy that you should bring as a man to a relationship with a woman in the bedroom. Be the man that is just you are grabbing her, you're being somewhat rough and scooping her up and tossing her on the bed because you are so filled with desire and excitement for her, and you can't wait to rip her clothes off. Women don't want to take off their own clothes in the bedroom. They want the men to actively just play a part in that. And women would really appreciate it if a man is so excited about pleasing them that it's very clearly they are almost foaming at the mouth and cannot wait to be with them as a woman. It's also very important to give a woman compliments. It's also important, just as a man would feel like, hey, I want to feel desired. I want to feel like the woman is getting excited about me. You need to bring that energy to the woman. Show that you are, give her compliments. show her that you are just really turned on by her, and that'll get her turned on from what is going on. Also, just in terms of climax count, if the woman is capable of climaxing multiple times, then make her climax multiple times, and don't even think about kind of just jumping into the full act of full sex before you do a significant amount of foreplay. Foreplay in my mind is not, it's kind of always, a lot of people view it as this like kind of appetizer, this kind of pregame thing that was somewhat smaller than the act itself. And I think that that's inherently a really flawed way to look at it. I think with foreplay, it should serve as almost half of the show, or even the majority of the show, because a lot of that is focused on giving pleasure, not necessarily receiving pleasure, unless you're doing something to exchange it both ways at the same time. But if you are giving your wife dedicated pleasure, and you are really focused on making sure that she's climaxing several times before you even get to the main sex part, she is going to appreciate that. She's going to be looking forward to that. That's going to be something that she goes to work the next day and she's glowing. I'll finish with this tip. When women have great sex, they go to work the next day and they're glowing. So if you really want to excite, get supercharge and get out of this rut and get the engine going, what you need to do as a man is have the goal of, you are going to please this woman so much, you are going to blow her hair back like she just got hit with a hurricane so much that she wakes up the next morning with a glowing smile on her face. She goes into work and her coworkers are asking her, "Wow, you're glowing. What happened last night?" Okay, that is the goal. If you want more sex in your relationship, you want to ignite the intimacy, that is the goal. Focus on just blowing her mind to the point where coworkers the next day are going to ask her what happened, with tongue in cheek, and she can just smirk. Okay, that's the goal. Anyways, this has been The Movement with Dan Unitas. I hope you got something out of this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.